हाँ, कुछ हटाना नहीं है, क्या बोल रहे हो? कुछ नहीं करना, क्या बोलने लग जाओ फोटो, मतलब यहाँ पे ठीक है, चल देखो। ओके, सो ओके, गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड, वेलकम टू अवर चैनल एग्जामपुर आईएएस इंग्लिश मीडियम। आप सभी का हमारे परिवार एग्जामपुर में स्वागत है। सो so as per the demand of the student, I have decided to take the disaster management, and you might be knowing that disaster management nowadays is playing a big role. In the earlier days, only 1 to 2 questions are being asked, but looking at the awareness toward the disaster management, just like UPSC aspirant must know how to handle the disasters, ठीक है ना, because he will be posted as a collector, sub collector, SDM, DSP, SP, so he might be knowing how to handle the disaster, and apart from that, he must be in a position to guide his population. So because of that, the UPSC now has started focusing more towards the disaster management. So presently today in this session we are going to discuss a mere syllabus of the disaster, and we will also let you know regarding what type of questions are being asked, so that at least by watching the session you might be aware ki what type of questions are being asked. Generally what happens, you must be aware regarding what is happening around, just like Kerala flood, Tamil Nadu flood. These are urban floods. What is the basic idea regarding the urban flood? Why it is happening? These are happening because of encroachment, wetlands. All the wetlands are being encroached, ponds are being encroached, all the things are being concretized. So neither the water table has been declining because of the concretization. Apart from that, the wetlands they were the reservoirs of the excessive water, now they have been encroached. So what is happening around you? The most important aspect is what is happening around you must be knowing. Welcome Vivek Maurya. How are you, Mridul? How are you? So first of all let us discuss the syllabus, what is mentioned. So introduction to disaster management. What are the things we have to study? You can see that first of all you must be knowing. Okay, generally what happens. Let us discuss that. Let us discuss. After that we'll discuss the practical approach. So what is disaster? What is hazard? What is the difference between disaster and hazard? What is vulnerability, risk, capacity of the particular area, classification of disaster management cycle. This is the basic thing because you must be knowing what is basic, how you are going to distinguish between hazard and vulnerability, ठीक है ना? Then only if yes, disaster की separate notes बना लीजिए आप लोग, ठीक है? These are the basic things. If you want to write an answer, you must be knowing what is hazard, what is vulnerability, है ना? If the basic things are being clear, then only you can proceed ahead. Apart from that, we have to know the disaster management. So background, certain historical aspect we must be know regarding the disaster management. National Disaster Management 2005, National Policy on Disaster Management 2009, the National Disaster Management Plan 2016, National Management Cycle in India, Disaster Management Cycle in India, Natural Hazards in India. How vulnerable it is towards the cyclone, how vulnerable it is towards the flash flood, how vulnerable it is towards the earthquake. So you must be knowing the vulnerability. Natural disasters, man-made disasters. After that, to handle the disasters, we must work in collaboration with the international community as well. So international cooperation and current development, global framework for disaster risk reduction, partnership with international agencies, India leadership initiative, bilateral agreement with countries. Okay, now certain miscellaneous topics are also being included, just like disaster insurance, community-based disaster management. The role of the community is of pivotal when it comes to controlling the disaster, because they are the first to respond. Role of the media in disaster management. Just you might have seen that during the time of tsunami, during the time of tsunami, yes, I do not remember it exactly. Facebook safe campaign was being launched so that you can inform your kith and kin regarding that you are safe. Even during the time of Tamil Nadu flood, also the same campaign was launched by Facebook. So social media also do play a bigger role towards disaster management. Retrofitting of building, the key is to let it swing. Climate change and disaster. So how the climate change is playing a role. Just like it has been said that the littoral states or the islands, if you are unable to control the temperature rise, then they will all will get submerged. Poverty, disaster, miscellaneous, National Disaster Management Act guidelines, national disaster plans for animals also. After that recent happening around you, you must be knowing what is happening around you. The questions generally are being asked from this section also, because UPSC generally asks 1 to 2 questions, but looking at the trend itself, that a UPSC aspirant must know what is disaster. Two questions are being asked, but they are generally asked of recent happenings around you. Okay, so Epidemic Disease Act 1897, Disaster Management 2005, PM Care Fund, Kerala flood, flood governance in India. This is much important. Flash flood, oil spill disaster, forest fire, National Disaster Management Plan for animals. So these are the things. Okay. So let us discuss the previous year's questions so that you'll get to know, so that you'll get acquainted whatever questions are being asked. Generally, the questions are not being asked from the static section. Generally, the questions are being asked from the current affairs section. What is happening around you? What is happening around you? Just you can have a look. In 2017, the question was asked regarding tsunami. See how the question was being framed. On December 2004, tsunami brought havoc on 14 countries, including India. Discuss the factor responsible for the occurrence of tsunami and its effects on life and economy. So you have here in this question, you have to discuss the factor that is responsible for the occurrence of tsunami. Apart from that, how it has impacted the economy of the people as well as the land itself. You have to discuss it over here. In the light of the guidelines of National Disaster Management Act, describe the mechanism for preparedness to reduce the risk of such during. So see how the question has been asked. First, it has been asked regarding the factors. What in the question itself? First is asked regarding factors. What are the factors that is responsible for tsunami? Second, its effect. How it has impacted, how it has affected the people as well as the land and as well as the economy, how it has been affected. On the third, it has been asked regarding how preparedness, how much you are prepared regarding to deal with such a scenario. So these three things are being asked regarding in this question. In 2018, the question was asked, describe various measures taken in India for disaster risk reduction. What are the factors that you have to consider when you have to reduce the disaster risk reduction before and after signing Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction? How is this framework different from HIGO framework for action? So in 2018, the question was being asked when we have accepted the Sendai framework for DPR, and you have to explain how it is being different from the how it is the HIGO framework for action. Means you have to point out the difference between these two frameworks. Question number in 2019, the question was asked regarding vulnerability is essential element for defining disaster impact and its threat to people. How and in what ways can vulnerability to disaster be characterized? Discuss different types of vulnerability with reference to disaster. So you have to discuss what is vulnerability. And apart from that, discuss different type of vulnerability with reference to disasters. Disaster preparedness is the first step in any disaster management process. Explain how hazard zonation mapping will help in disaster mitigation in the case of landslide. So what you have to do, you have to prepare the hazard zone, ठीक है ना? And in that hazard zone, you have to reflect what are the how much hazard means how much it is probable to the hazard. Apart from that, how you can prevent it from the landslides. If you see the 2020 question, discuss the recent measure initiated in disaster management by the government of India, departing from the earlier reactive approach. So what are the changes in the government approach that you have to mention? In 2021, two questions are being asked. First one, discuss about the vulnerability of India to earthquake related hazards. So in that you have to draw the earthquake map, and apart from that, in the earthquake map you have to mention the different earthquake zones and how severe it is. Give example including the salient features of the major disaster caused by the earthquake. So earthquake is also responsible. Earthquake is one of the factor which is also responsible for the occurrence of certain other disasters. So you have to mention this in different part of India. Describe the various causes and the effects of landslides. Mention the important components of the national landslide disaster, national landslide risk management strategy. So from this you can see that often only once in a blue moon the questions are being asked regarding the static portion. Otherwise the questions that are being asked, they are of recent happening. So whatever is happening around you must be aware of it. First of all, what are the factors that are responsible? Just like Tamil Nadu flood. So you must be knowing, or sorry, Kerala flood. You must be knowing what are the factors that are responsible for the Kerala flood. Okay. Apart from that, why we failed to control the flood. Apart from that, what should be the disaster preparedness to control this? Apart from that, if it is a flood, you must be knowing that its economy is badly hurt. So how to revive the economy? Apart from that, at that time we have to discuss regarding the flood governance. So generally the questions are being asked regarding your current section itself. So it's a disaster management. It's I think two questions. Apart from two questions, generally it has been seen in the interview. The questions are being asked from the disaster section itself. So from tomorrow onwards, we are going to start the disaster management. I would just like to request my UPSC aspirants who are attending my class on a regular basis, please do watch my session on a live, because if you guys are attending my session live, it motivates us. Just think of it, if more number of students are present in our session, it really motivates us. But you guys, if you are thinking from yourself that okay, we will watch the recorded session, okay, here you are getting each and everything free of cost. Just think of the faculties who are taking over the classes away. Do you think that it really motivates us if the students are not coming on live? Okay, so it's a humble request to everyone, please do attend my classes on a live mode. So thank you, thanks a lot everyone. Thank you.